Something happened a few months before I made the Cursillo. I was coming home late at night from a party, and I had gotten involved with the intellectual circle at Notre Dame, which wasn't a healthy circle at that time. And I remember walking home late at night, and this tow truck came by. We used to call them wreckers, like the wrecker came by, and I felt like it was like a warning to me, like the wrecker was coming for me.
Gosh.
Yeah, I felt like...
Boy, God was already working.
Yeah, I felt like there was a danger sign saying, watch out, the wrecker's coming for you.
People often wonder who we are. Why do we dress this way? What do we do all day? Why do we live this kind of life? What does it mean to be a sister, a priest, a Catholic? We want to help you navigate life through faith, to find the truth of God and all His glory, because the truth shall set you free.
Welcome back to our podcast, And the Truth Shall Set You Free, our podcast from our community about really vocations. And as you know, I certainly usually get in priests and religious, my own sisters, many, many times, as you know, because you are very faithful followers of this, I know. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Ralph Martin. And many of you probably have already heard of him, read some of his things. He has many publications. He speaks all over. I was just at Franciscan University, picked up their school newspaper, and don't you know who was on the front page but you, Ralph Martin. So we are very excited to have you join us today.
Well, you know how inspired I am by the Sisters of Mary, Mother of the Eucharist, and you particularly.
Aww.
And it's really great to be with you.
Thank you so much. And our hope is that we can talk Ralph into several of these podcasts, and you're going to have to watch every one because it's too much for one segment, just too much. But Ralph, let's get started with where were you born and raised in your family, and how did you become the man that you are today for God?
Well, by the grace of God, being born into a Catholic family in New York City. My grandparents.
New York City. What part of New York City?
I was born in the Bronx.
Oh, you were? Okay.
I was. We moved to northern New Jersey when I was 4 years old. So,
wow.
I was in St. Philip Neri Parish in the Grand Concourse in the Bronx, and St. Anastasia Parish in Teaneck, New Jersey. And my grandparents came from Ireland, and they were very firm Catholics. And I visited one time relatives there, and they pointed out a little church that my grandfather helped to build by selling a cow to build a little church in his little village.
Oh, how beautiful.
So the faith came to me from my ancestors. It came to me from Catholic Ireland when Catholic Ireland existed.
I know.
And then my parents kind of just received the faith, and they put a very high value in Catholic education.
Beautiful.
So they didn't have a lot of money, and they sacrificed, to send us to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school. And when I was a boy, I just remember so distinctly just loving the Lord and wanting to be good and wanting never to commit a sin. And I remember even asking one day, Lord, take away my free will so that I never seriously offend you. But
that's so sweet.
But you know that the Lord will not take away your free will.
No.
Right. And so...
But I get the prayer, believe me.
Okay, yeah.
There's an inspiration behind that.
Yeah, I knew there was danger ahead, and I didn't want to do anything to offend the Lord. So I got a good start. I believed everything the nuns taught me in grade school, Sisters of Charity, and they taught me the truth, They taught me the truth, and it's been a foundation for my whole life. And I'd like to tell people when I do speak is that don't shortchange little children. Little children are totally capable of deciding on a life of holiness and loving Jesus.
Audience, are you getting that? Would you say that again, Ralph?
Yeah.
So many people don't get how serious it is to raise your children in the faith well.
Yeah, and even pastors in parishes saying, who's going to teach third grade this year?
Yes.
No, you have to find the right people. You have to find people who love the Lord and who know the faith and love little children and know what they're capable of. So
I love
that's
this.
Why,
I just love this.
Well, that's why everybody wants to have you at their parish. Right? and I know you can't be there. So in the meantime, before the Sisters of Mary, Mother of the Eucharist, get there, we've got to do the best we can in getting people who love the Lord, know the faith, to teach the little children, because little children are very capable from an early age to know and love Jesus, to know and love the truths of the faith, and understand them. That was true in my case. You know, my parents and the nuns and the catechism, it gave me a foundation for life. It gave me a biblical world view. It gave me a structure of truth that I never wanted to do anything to offend against. But
you know what, Ralph? You just mentioned truth, and our audience knows that is the motto of the Dominican Order, Veritas. We will come to that, but I also want to say, my guess would be that you were raised knowing the saints as friends.
Yes, and devotions too. I remember Lent. I remember Good Friday. You know, we had to keep silent. You know, for 3 hours and do spiritual reading.
Parents.
I remember every day during Lent, I read special prayers. You know, and there were big words in there that I didn't understand, like ignominy. I still remember that word, the ignominious death of Jesus Christ, you know, type of thing. But I somehow it communicated to me, even though I didn't understand what it meant, you know, type of thing. And so, yeah, I was really, and saints, you know, confirmation saint of St. Paul, you know. And,
perfect for you. I love St. Paul.
Yeah, and since then, of course, I've got to know a lot more saints, you know.
And the early Roman martyrs.
Yeah.
And the young ones, as you were just referring to, you kind of bond with them when you're that age, and they died for Christ at the age you are.
Right.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
You said take on my free will. It's like the free will chooses.
Yeah, Agnes and Agatha and Lucy and Anastasia.
Yes.
You know, the parish I was in, St. Anastasia, was an early, you know, martyr. And then there's a statue of St. Philomena in the hallway.
Oh, St. Philomena.
She's had her ups and downs, hasn't she?
She has, but John Vianney, if he believed in her so much, so do I. And I can remember there's a picture of her on his stairwell going up to the beds where the evil one wreaked his havoc, etc. And it's just so old and so wrinkled, and it's in this little frame. They go, John Vianney framed that picture, you know?
Yeah.
You just love all these things because you were taught by your parents' example, number one, in prayer life, to love our beautiful Catholic faith.
Yeah.
And boy, it took well with you.
Well, I ran into some trouble as I got older.
Oh, continue, please.
Yeah, he didn't take away my free will. And as I got into later years of high school, I went to Irish Christian Brothers High School and all boys high school.
So all boys, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And, you know, I was doing well, but, I took this test when I was a junior, you know, like a national merit test, and it came out like really good. And I didn't even know I was smart before then. No, I mean, really, I didn't, you know, like, and so
Isn't that beautiful?
You know, and so, you know.
Your parents guarded you.
Yes, and that was good. But then I began to feel like, gee, maybe this is too small a pool for me. I got to kind of launch out. And
here comes the pride.
There's more I need to know. And, you know, I began to read the New York Times, which was not good. And I began to go into New York City. I began to kind of develop this desire for more learning than I was getting. And so when it came time to go to college, I decided I had so much Catholic education, I wanted to go to a secular college. So my parents told me, well, you can go to a secular college if you want to, but if you want any financial support, you have to go to a Catholic college.
Parents always win if they're good.
So tough love. You know, parents shouldn't be afraid.
Exactly.
It's a very important decision where your kids go to school.
Yes.
And I see people sending their children to University of Michigan. They enroll in women's studies programs. They lose their faith. They get so confused. Honestly, you have to be really careful about where your kids go to college.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of parents, don't realize what they're signing the kids up. They're signing the kids up for brainwashing.
Exactly.
Even in grade school now, I don't know if in many parts of the country that you can send your kids to public schools. Honestly, I mean, the horrible things that are coming out about the indoctrination, teachers kind of encouraging their people to explore different genders.
Oh, gosh.
And sexual identities. I mean, it's happening. It's really happening.
Mm-hmm.
And this is wicked. This is a horrible thing. I think of Jesus saying, if you cause one of these little ones to stumble, better that a millstone be put around your neck and you be thrown into the depths of the sea. The culture is really coming for our kids.
Yes.
And the San Francisco Gay Chorus came right out and said, we're coming for your kids.
Oh, did they?
They did. And so it's sort of like there's an intentionality to this. That misery loves company.
Exactly.
Sin loves to encourage other people to sin, and so there's a tremendous battle going on for the souls of children, for the souls of every human being, and a lot of parents aren't awake to it, and they just have to awake to it and do whatever they can to give their kids a solid Catholic education, whether it's homeschooling or Catholic school or whatever.
And going on with that too, Ralph, because I too was blessed to go to a Catholic school with sisters and Dominicans, in fact.
Yeah.
And I can remember our dinner table, my parents would always, after we prayed, started to eat, say, what did you learn in school today? And so we'd say, in science class we did this. And go, okay, well, that was good. What else? And then it would always go, we want to know what you learned in religion class. And it wasn't until, really I became an adult that I thought my father from a immigrant Polish family, they never had the money to go to a Catholic school. And he in many ways, you remind me of him, just his passion for the faith, just Jesus, Mary, and the saints, and, get to heaven. Anyway. So he wanted to learn what he could learn. And then my mother is a convert from the Baptist, Southern Baptist. So she certainly didn't have that much in the faith. I mean, 3 months of, when our CIA back then, it was one-on-one. And I'm sure she asked plenty of questions, but that was it. And then became a Catholic. And I look back and I think they really wanted us to teach them what we were learning. It would always go back to, what did you learn in religion class? And we always knew that question was going to come up. So we would start with science or whatever we were excited about. And then we'd go into religion class and they would just kind of almost be mesmerized by anything we would say. And they never said it that way, but looking back. And I think how important it is for parents to pull that out of their children so their children hear their own voice speaking about the faith.
No, that's really great.
Claiming
that's really true.
Okay, so after these interesting situations with you, what did you choose?
Well, I decided, I got to go to a Catholic college because I don't have any money. So I wanted to go to something as far away from home as I could get. So I was living in New Jersey at the time. So I ended up going to Notre Dame out in Indiana.
Fantastic.
And I got up to Notre Dame, and my parents were terribly concerned that there weren't going to be good Jewish delicatessens or good Italian restaurants.
It wasn't going to be New York and Indiana?
No, really. They thought they'd probably send the inferior canned tuna fish out there. No, really. I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but people do have those kinds of prejudices in the East,
I do know that.
So I got up to Notre Dame, and I thought maybe I'll get some answers to my questions I was having. I was starting to kind of, get a little distance from the Lord and from the church, and was starting to develop some critical questions like, how do we know this is true, and where does this come from, type of thing. And so I began to ask people at Notre Dame. I said, why are you Catholic? I was looking for answers. And I remember the first person I asked said, I'm a Catholic because I want to help the poor.
Oh, how interesting.
And I thought,
what
was
your reaction?
I felt like, you don't have to be a Catholic to help the poor, I mean, you can join the UN or be an aid worker or volunteer at a homeless shelter. And
so you had the faith deeply.
Well, I knew that wasn't a solid enough answer.
Exactly.
I knew that wasn't giving me a solid reason as an adult. I had it as a child, but I was looking for
intellectual, faith decision.
Yeah, I was looking for a more intellectual foundation for the faith. So, and then I asked somebody else, why are you a Catholic? And they said, well, it helps me be good. I said, well,
oh, dear Lord.
I said, that's good, but there's other people who are good who aren't Catholics, type of thing. So what's really the unique thing about being a Catholic, And I just wasn't really finding any answers. So I started off as a political science major.
Oh, did you?
Studying Russian.
My goodness.
I thought I'd maybe go into the diplomatic service.
Oh, my goodness.
At that time, everybody thought Russia was going to take over the world, type of thing. But I felt like, this isn't solid enough. This isn't probing enough. So I then became an English major.
Oh, we're getting closer, I think, for you.
Yes, it took me a while, though. And I thought maybe the great themes of world literature, would really illumine things for me, type of thing. And what happened is that the literature I wrote really did ignite something in me, but it wasn't directed,
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was sort of like, oh, I love beauty, I love truth, I love nature, I love people, it was sort of undisciplined, unfocused sort of awakening, an intellectual, aesthetic awakening. But then I thought, well, this isn't fundamental, so I became a philosophy major.
That was my first degree, too.
Oh, wow.
First degree.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought, philosophy is about wisdom, about truth, but quite honestly, it was the age of French and German existentialism. And
oh, goodness.
And
you didn't get Thomas Aquinas?
I got him a little bit, but
not
in a very kind of dull, boring, perfunctory way,
gosh,
type of thing.
Terrible.
Yeah, yeah. So I wasn't finding answers in philosophy, so I was getting a little desperate. Like I had this thirst for the absolute, and so I did my senior essay on Plato and Nietzsche.
So by this time you're a senior.
Yes, I am. And 3 months before
Plato and Nietzsche.
Yeah. Plato, the absolute, just,
yes.
The form, Nietzsche kind of lashing out against all fake stuff and all stupid stuff. And, so it was kind of a volatile combination.
Yes, it was.
Yes. But then, thanks be to God, somebody insisted that I make a Cursillo. I don't know if you've ever...
Oh, sure. Of course.
Weekend retreat out of Spain that has helped a lot of Catholics awaken to the faith. So I didn't want to go. My senior essay wasn't done. And I just said, I just can't go. I'm too busy. And my friends started to cry. So I said, stop crying. I'll go,
Oh, that is a true friend.
In those days, it wasn't cool for guys to cry. So it kind of shook me up, so stop, I'll go. But I said, I warn you, I'm not going to compromise my intellectual integrity. It was awful. It was awful arrogance.
You were really in it for 4 years here.
Yeah, it was really awful arrogance and pride, and just not feeling I was going to get anything meaningful out of ordinary lay Catholics who, were school teachers and shoe salesmen and real estate agents. I was a philosophy major. But you know what? I heard a beautiful explanation of the faith from the priest on the Cursillo. And I thought, whoever invented Christianity is pretty smart.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, I felt like maybe I'm touching the mind of God here, like this is so profound, And then they began to talk about Jesus, and that made me feel very uncomfortable.
Oh, my goodness.
I was thinking about, Jesus out there, second person of the Trinity, hypostatic union, theoretical Jesus type of thing. But they were talking about Jesus as if somebody that they were in touch with, And then, to make a long story short, at a certain point in the weekend, I just began to sense that he was there. I just began to sense that Jesus himself was in Our Lady of Fatima retreat house.
Wow.
And I knew that, wow, if this is the case, I've got some decisions to make.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was hard because I was really enjoying this kind of undisciplined search for truth, where I was searching on my terms and that type of thing. And, I was in charge and I knew if Jesus really was the Lord and if he really had been raised from the dead, the only sensible response to make to him is total surrender.
Wow.
But that was a struggle because I knew total surrender meant my life would have to change. I'd have to open up my future. I'd have to open my plans. I'd have to kind of turn.
You have to become vulnerable to God, wouldn't
yeah,
you?
yeah. I have to turn in a different direction than I was turning, and it just really was a struggle. And it wasn't until the last morning, Sunday morning of the Cursillo, that God's grace broke through. And I just kind of humbled myself. I went to confession. I got reconciled with the Lord and with the church. And looking back on it, what happened was I reaffirmed my baptism. I wasn't thinking in those terms then, but that's what was happening. I reaffirmed my being a Christian as an adult type of thing.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end of the Cursillo, something else happened. I just experienced the love of God kind of rushing into my soul. I was just overwhelmed by his love,
Gosh, was your friend making this retreat too and noticing you?
Was it what?
Your friend?
He wasn't on it.
Oh, he just wanted you to go.
Yeah, he made the first one at Notre Dame, and I made the second one type of thing.
Oh my gosh.
But, one of the things about the Cursillo is that they have people praying and offering sacrifices for those who are on the Cursillo.
Uh-huh.
And at a certain point during the Cursillo, they read little notes from people who say, I'm walking with pebbles in my shoes all weekend, or I'm giving, Hispanic migrant workers who are there, or I'm giving up desserts, or I'm not having alcohol this weekend, or something like that. And I found that very moving. And then at the end of the Cursillo, it became apparent who these people were, and I just experienced love coming into my soul, the love of God being poured into my soul, the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
And then at the end of the Cursillo, they allow you to say what you've gotten from the Cursillo. And I remember what I said. I got up and I said, I want to spend the rest of my life knowing and loving Jesus and helping other people know and love him. That's it. And honestly, that's
you've done.
That's what my life has been about, or tried to be about. That's it. It's as simple as that. Jesus is the Lord.
Beautiful.
The only sensible response is to totally surrender and open our future to him and open everything in our life to him, because that's what we were intended for.
How beautiful. And now, this many years later, how many untold numbers have you brought to the Lord with that zeal, that openness to the Holy Spirit?
Mm-hmm.
And what God is certainly doing in your life, and how he's trying so hard, wishes so much, to get into everyone's life.
Yeah.
So your story is beautiful in that for 4 years, which is remarkable knowing you today.
Mm-hmm.
For 4 years, he, so to speak, went to battle for your soul,
Mm-hmm.
and then broke through.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, something happened a few months before I made the Cursillo. I was coming home late at night from a party, and I had gotten involved with the intellectual circle at Notre Dame, which wasn't a healthy circle at that time. And I remember walking home late at night, and this tow truck came by. We used to call them wreckers, like the wrecker came by. And I felt like it was like a warning to me, like the wrecker was coming for me.
Gosh.
Yeah, I felt like...
Boy, God was already working.
Yeah, I felt like there was a danger sign saying, watch out, the wrecker's coming for you. And I think that maybe deep under the surface kind of predisposed me to be saved.
That's incredible.
So, anyway.
That's incredible. Thank you for adding that, how God does, as you say, predispose us. Again, if we allow.
Right.
Because the beautiful thing, you had that honesty to admit that and not just shove it off, because you were really moved by that. And so you went into that retreat. Okay, I have a big question for you. Ralph, will you come back and do more podcasts with us?
Sure.
This is fascinating. We've just begun, as they say. But you have said so many beautiful things for everyone watching, for the young, for the middle-aged, for the elderly, for everyone to really realize the dignity and the beauty of the family that God has given us, and how essential it is for you parents to pass on the faith. And again, to remember the best way to pass on the faith is to live it yourself, because children can see fakes. And so if they're looking at you, they are expecting you to give them what you really believe, because whether or not you're realizing it, that's the way they're believing it. And so again, how we thank God for good parents and how we pray. And one of the big things about vocations is marriage and the dignity of this sacrament and the responsibility you have towards your spouse, obviously, and towards the children that God gives you. Ralph, this has just been delightful. So we're going to count on you to keep your promise and come back again, okay?
I will. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Signing off from And the Truth Shall Set You Free. God bless.